Nice job. High four.
One shot, one kill. Ronnie did.
Now introducing your BudHole podcast, Scott, the Great Brandino, Gage's Rage, and Star Lamar.
What's up, girl?
I love the BudHole.
As Scott would say, who doesn't love the BudHole? Welcome to the Sunday morning 9:07 mailbag. We pushed it back this week. We're also down 2 people. Star, I wanna say thank you for showing up this week, showing your dedication to the BudHole and the craft that we put out there.
I'm grateful I was invited for the first time ever to join the Sunday morning mailbag.
That's the only reason.
I wondered why you guys didn't invite me for the last couple of weeks, but I'm glad to be here. What did you say Gage was doing?
Gage is he's in family court. He got into a dispute with his brother over Dragon Ball Z cards and whether or not he has sole proprietorship over those or if his brother actually owns the cards.
Did you know, has he found like legal support or anything?
I think he's talking to a lawyer right now. I'm not exactly sure how well that's going, but yeah, I think he's trying something. He's got it.
Well, if anyone wants to donate any money to his fund, you can send it straight to the BudHole. Help Gage get his Dragon Ball Z cards back from his brother. We'd appreciate it.
We'll send it. Make sure
that
he right
hunting, but he's probably lying. You think?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably trying to count the hairs on his head. Doesn't take him that long, but he's doing it 5, 6, 7, 8 times, something like that.
Well, regardless, welcome to the show where people who are lucky to go 500 in fantasy football give you advice on who you should start for the week.
Yeah. Are you 1-1 right now?
I am 1-1 in all my leagues.
Well, that is great.
Across the board.
I am currently in our league 0-2. They say 1's a point, 2's a line, 3's a trend. Yeah. And I think I'm going to trend towards losing this week as well. So if you guys are listening, just wait. I have great fantasy advice for you, which is do the opposite of what I tell you. We are also brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. If you haven't checked it out, you're probably living under a rock. It is one of the greatest DFS games that I've ever played, where you do prop bets. So essentially it could be, does Kirk Cousins throw for 193.5 yards, and you select over or under. You have 10 different options to pick from for different players, between rushing yards, touchdowns, things like that. And then based on the more you get right, the more points you get. And then the higher up you are on the leaderboards where they're giving out cold, hard cash. I think this weekend only, it's if you put in $20, they will match $50 if you use promo code BUD. Pretty simple when you log in or when you sign up. Ask for your username, email, password, and then at the bottom, just make sure you type in BUD, and they will put in $50 when you put in 20. I do recommend 25 because most of the good lobbies are starting at $25.
These deals are not going to last forever. This is kind of a newer company. They're trying to get clientele. Take advantage of it right now because in the future when you're playing it, they're not going to be giving you free money like this.
Exactly.
Take advantage now.
They also match it right away, too. So like DraftKings, you have to play X amount of games, and they put in increments into your account. They put that $50 in first day, so you could play 3 lobbies right away. They also have like $5, $10 lobbies, too, but I don't find those as fun. It's more fun when you have more money on the line. But starting out with the questions brought to you by, you guys, we are going to start out with question number 1. How long did Fitzmagic buy himself with the dominating performance he had on Thursday Night Football? What do you think, Star?
I think he's got probably half the season, at least. They did go 0-2 to start the season, so you can't forget that those games happened when he dominated a bad Jaguars defense. So I'd say that they're not in any rush right now. I don't think they're planning on making a playoff push. If they were, I think they would have switched already. But you look at Herbert, how well he's doing, and Burrow and how well he's doing, you got to think they're kind of itching to see how their rookie would do. So I'd say at least half the season, unless he bombs off.
which we know Fitzmagic is good at. He's really good at having very good games and then very blah games at the same time.
Yeah.
I will say that they do play the Seahawks next week, the 49ers the week after, and then they go to the Broncos. So he's got a couple of tough weeks here. The Chargers after that are no slouch either. So, I mean, we could be looking at when they face the Rams on November 1st, Tua coming in for the first time starting.
The tough schedule could be reason enough for them not to put the rookie in too.
Well, yeah, which is fair enough.
Exactly.
Keep him in there for a little while, save the rookie, and then let's see, who do they play after that? Then go to the Cardinals, which probably isn't an easy matchup either. But then, the Jets and Dolphins play not back to back. The Dolphins have a bye in between there, but they play the Jets 2 games in a row actually.
It's interesting.
Yeah, haven't seen that before. So Jets, Bengals, Chiefs, Patriots. I mean, towards the end of the year, they have a couple good games to get the rookie in there, get him some good experience before they go to the fire against the Chiefs, Patriots, Raiders, and Bills. So I can see, like I said,
tough schedule.
It doesn't look super easy. But yeah, I would say a couple more weeks, and then you could see Tua, and especially if Fitzmagic puts up like a week 1 stat line like he did. All right, question number 2: AJ Green or Deontay Johnson? Hopefully I spelled that right. Did it on the fly. Who would you rather have for this week, and then also for this season?
I'd say the answers are different. This week, I feel like it's going to be AJ Green's coming out party. He's been gone to the last 2 weeks, but he just hasn't found that end zone. Had some drops week 1. I think he dropped a touchdown week 2 as well. And they're playing against the Phillies defense, who is not 100% and not a great pass defense. I think this week is going to be his coming out party. For the season, I think I'd rather have Deontay Johnson. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Pittsburgh, but he seems to be like the second favorite of Ben Roethlisberger. So season, I'm going Johnson. Today, I'm going Green.
I think this week is going to be a toss-up between the two. I could see both Johnson and AJ Green putting up big stat lines. I mean, AJ Green has been targeted pretty heavily, and he dropped a touchdown, pass interference on week 1, and then he dropped a touchdown on week 2. So, I mean, he's getting targets in the red zone, and eventually those are going to stick. And once they do, his stat line is just going to keep going up. So I could see AJ Green having a good year, but Deontay Johnson and that Steelers team, Big Ben being back is really good for that receiving core. I mean, they're all seeing positive numbers. Claypool had kind of the outlier with like that 75-yard touchdown last week, but he put up 80 yards. Deontay Johnson has put up solid numbers, like 5-6 receptions a game. And then obviously Juju, I think that was against Denver week 1. Did he catch 2 touchdowns? Was it?
2.
Yeah. I mean, for all of them, it's good. Each week they can put up big numbers. And I haven't seen a reason to think that the Steelers aren't going to do that on a consistent basis. So for the year, I think I would take Deontay Johnson too. It's kind of a coin flip toss for me this week. I don't think you really go wrong either way with the two.
Houston's defense has to show up at least once this year. This is the battle of the Watt brothers. JJ's coming to play. I think this is the day that the defense shines a little bit after playing 2 high-powered offenses week 1 and 2.
Yeah, I could definitely see that too. And they can't afford to start out 0-3. That's for sure.
No one can.
Except for the Vikings. Okay. Yep, that's what I meant. Not the Vikings.
I'm not even a fan anymore.
Well, you got your Raiders jersey on game day. Was that 24?
The Patriots.
Is that Woodson?
Woodson, yeah.
All right, next question. Jared Goff or Big Ben? Who would you rather start this week?
What are the matchups? Buffalo and Houston?
Yes.
Jared Goff has been kind of a surprise this year so far. People thought with Cooks leaving and their running back leaving, Todd Gurley, that they're going to kind of fall off offensively and hope that their defense can pick up the slack. But Jared Goff is back to his Super Bowl season form. But Buffalo is the tougher matchup of the two.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd rather roll Big Ben going 3 deep against Houston's defense. It's a close one, though. And Buffalo gets Edmonds back today, I believe. He's no longer injured. It's going to be a tough battle. I'm going Big Ben.
Big Ben it is for you. That stat line, it looks like the Vegas line is 45 this week. Jared Goff, week 1, it was a little rough. I mean, he had 275 passing yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. But then last week against Philly, 74% completion, 267 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, he was lighting it up last week. I think they're going to be in a little bit of a shootout this week. I think I'm going to take Jared Goff. I think he's got a little bit to prove. I think they're going to try to make a push to start out 3-0 to prove that they're a dominant force in the NFC West and kind of either take home that they want to fight for that first spot. And they're only 2 years removed from being there. So honestly, I'm going to pick Jared Goff this week. Do you know what their Vegas line is off the top of your head?
Do not.
Josh
Probably
Allen.
not super high.
47.5. So it's about, what did I say, 45 for Pittsburgh. So yeah, it's 2.5 points higher. It's, relatively the same. It's a field goal.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. CeeDee Lamb or David Johnson, who are you starting this week?
That one's tough. I do own both these players, and I've contemplated this one myself because David Johnson does have a hard matchup against the Steelers defense, and CeeDee Lamb kind of took off last week. He led the team in receiving yards. It was a comeback. Almost seemed like garbage time until it wasn't garbage time type performance by CeeDee Lamb.
Yep.
And, you kind of just want to go with the rookie. There's playing Seahawks. Seahawks have given up a lot of passing yards this year. Both Matt Ryan and Cam Newton. Their defensive backs are not the strength of the team. I think I'm rolling CD.
I'm going to go the same. 2 wide receivers, they led up 32.5 points per game. And they're ranked in 2020 32nd against the pass. David Johnson has got a tougher matchup. I think that the Steelers have a better defense. I think it's going to be a little bit more of playing from behind for them too. So I don't think
David Johnson's Achilles the entire year so far.
They haven't had an opportunity to get the guy running all that much. I don't see that really changing this week. CeeDee Lamb last week as well. Like you said, he had a solid week, 6 receptions, 106 yards, and a touchdown. And I think that's the highest Vegas total this week as well at 56. So it's going to be a high-scoring game, at least in theory. It should be. And I see CeeDee Lamb putting up that same stat line. So this week, I'm definitely taking Lamb over Johnson. Jordan Reed or Jonnu Smith? Jordan Reed faces the New York Giants with backup quarterback Nick Mullins, and Jonnu Smith is facing our beloved Vikings.
Your beloved Vikings.
You are not a fan anymore. That is right.
I never was. I don't know what you're talking about.
Jeez.
I'm taking Jonnu. Jordan Reed has been out of the league for a while. Not necessarily out of the league, but out of the conversation of tight end in the league for a long time. Jonnu Smith is ascending. Last week, Mo Alley Cox put up over 100 yards on the Vikings when he didn't even have to. They were running the ball. I don't see the Vikings being able to stop anyone. Mike Hughes is out. Cam Dantzler's still out. They can't make a tackle. Jonnu Smith's going to have a big game.
I'm same boat. Jordan Reed, I think, was kind of a flash in the pan. I think Nick Mullins is probably going to target him a little bit more just because he's a big target. He's kind of a safety blanket. And I think their wide receivers, what's his name, is still out. Who is the
Ayuk?
Is still Is Ayuk out too?
I think so. But Sanu is in.
Okay. So I think
he's
probably going to be the most reliable target for him. But at the same time, the Vikings, even though they let up a big week to Mo Alley Cox last week, they still ranked 10th this year against the tight ends. But Barr's out. Like you said, Dantzler's out. Hughes is out. Chris Boyd, who was more of a special teams guy, he's out too. It's not looking good is all I'm saying. So I think Jonnu Smith, especially after that breakout last week, is poised to have another one.
If Jordan Reed does it again, though, I think he's right back in conversation as a top tight end. With a backup quarterback,
But
it would go to prove that he wasn't done. Just maybe 10 concussions and he'll be out of the league. But
what is he at? Nine right now?
I don't know.
He's at a lot. But you got to think that George Kittle's going to be coming back eventually too.
True.
And that's going to be taken away. So, I mean, he might be a good streamer for a couple of weeks, but I don't think he's a long-term option in this offense.
Or George Kittle returning helps him.
More coverage on Kittle and opens him up a little bit more.
Tight ends, and it becomes a Gronk and Hernandez situation over there in San Francisco.
That's a possibility too, or maybe like a Goddard Ertz deal right now in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Except I'm starting Goddard this week, so since I'm starting him this week, I would recommend not starting Goddard in any of your lineups. That's just typically how it goes. James Robinson.
You didn't say it in the form of a question.
I put a
James
question mark.
Robinson?
James Robinson.
Yeah,
The dude has been playing extremely well. He's a rookie too, isn't he?
yeah, undrafted.
Undrafted rookie.
Undrafted rookie, no preseason, week 1 starter. Not
And-
your typical story.
Week 1 put up 62 yards, 1 catch for 28 yards, no touchdowns. So, I mean, kind of a decent week 1 for a guy coming into the league. What is that? 10 fantasy points in PPR. But what was that?
I was going to say the biggest thing that you took from the week 1 was he was the guy.
Yes, you did
put
see
in
that.
a lot of other running backs. It was James Robinson show.
And I think it helped that Raquel Armstead went on that COVID list as well, giving him the opportunity to shine. And now that he's done it, I mean, 16 rushes in week 2 and 11 in week 3 on Thursday night here. The targets haven't really been there for the most part. They've increased each week. So I guess he had 6 this last week. 6 targets, 6 catches, 83 yards, 46 on the ground, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he had an absolute hell of a week. If you were able to snag him in your dynasty league, you're looking pretty good right now. And if you picked him up on waivers, you're looking really good as well. Plus, they have a really bad or a really easy schedule coming up as well. A lot of games where they're going to be, I think, playing from ahead. And that's really good for the running back, especially one that can catch the ball and can play all facets of the game.
Did you say that you think the Jaguars are going to be playing ahead most games?
It's a possibility. It's a possibility.
What made you think that?
Not Thursday night. And I did start Minshew Mania on Thursday, and it just sucked. All right. And guess what? Matt Stafford is going to put up a boatload of points this week against the Cardinals. I can just feel it. But the Jaguars play the Bengals next week, the Texans, the Lions. I think the Chargers is going to be a tougher matchup, but then the Texans again. So the next few weeks here are fairly easy for them, especially with the way the Texans have been playing.
Yeah. I like him. I think he'd be a great pickup. I played against him this week, and I didn't know it, and I was cheering him on watching the game. I wish I wasn't. But they kept with him even when they were down multiple scores, which was nice to see. They didn't give up on the run game immediately. He did get a late touchdown. I think he's a viable starter until he doesn't do it anymore for the rest of the season.
Well, even without the late touchdown, he had 14 points just receiving the ball. And then, the first touchdown puts him at 20, and then he had 46 yards. So, I mean, even just catching the ball, if they're playing from behind, he's still a very viable option.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people
on him was the breakaway speed. Lacks that, but I mean, if he can get 10 to 15 yards every time he touches the ball, you don't really need the breakaway speed.
Exactly.
Play a game plan.
And I've seen people offering first-round picks for him in dynasty leagues. Is that too much for the rookie at this point of the stage of the game?
I'd say yes. I'm a guy who likes to see proof of concept in people, in players. 1 to 2 to 3 weeks doesn't do it for me on a person like that. If that was a Jordan Taylor that was coming out doing this, I'd value him that high because he already came in with value.
Jonathan Taylor?
Undrafted. Huh?
Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
And who's the guy for Pac-Man Jones? Him too, Adam Jones.
Adam Jones, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not good with names. I started drinking real early this morning.
Well, you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning.
No, fucking 2020.
That's law.
But yeah, so a guy that went undrafted that I'd never even heard of until he was a starter. 3 weeks is not long enough for me to give up the first round pick. But if he does 3 more weeks, I might consider it. Would
you flip a first round pick for him? So, like, if you had him, would you flip him for a first?
I think so.
At this point,
look at my comparison is a guy like Phil Lindsay for the Broncos. When he took over that job, he looked great, and they kind of gave up on him. They brought in Melvin Gordon. But he was putting up numbers. He was the flashiest running back there for a while, over Royce Freeman, over Booker, and they still would not commit to him. So I'm just worried that the Jaguars aren't committed to Robinson yet. Who knows when Armstead comes back, if they're going to split the load.
Yeah, or if they end up picking up another guy in the draft this year or something like that. Just another dude can take away some potential from him. All right.
Don't draft running backs high in the NFL. You can find this guy undrafted starting week 1. Why waste the first round or second round pick on a running back?
Well, that brings up an interesting question that I'm going to pull up right now. Saquon a bust at pick number 2?
Not yet. How many years? Is this 3?
This would be the 3rd year. So he had a really good rookie year. He had the high ankle sprain last year that kind of deterred his season, and then the torn ACL in week 2.
So as a player, I just want to look in the second round. It's not the same as going 2 overall. Puts a lot more pressure on you. But Cook didn't really break out until his 3rd year. Saquon had a good first year and went down. So if he comes back next year and is good again, I would not say he's a bust. I would not take a running back that high regardless, though. I don't think when he was drafted, it's worth a number 2 pick.
I think drafting a running back that high, it just doesn't work out. Christian McCaffrey has been kind of an outlier, but it's only been a handful of years as well, where you could get a different guy. Let's see, who went after him? Sam Darnold went after him, which they didn't need. They drafted Jones last year, so they probably could have used him, but he hasn't been playing all that well either. Denzel Ward, Bradley Chubb, Quentin Nelson would have been a really solid pick there. Josh Allen, Roquan Smith, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Lamar Jackson. Well, was he 18? He was, yeah. Yep, that's right. So there was a lot of guys there that I think would have been a higher value to take over Saquon Barkley. Now, he won Rookie of the Year in 2018, but nonetheless, I think at pick 2, he's got to do more for me to not think that was a bad pick at week 2. Overall, his career could shape out a little bit better, but taking a running back that high is just bad for teams.
They don't use him, or when he was healthy, they didn't use him like they would a number 2 overall pick. They give up on him. I don't know. I've never touched him in fantasy.
I haven't either, and it worked out this year.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the last mailbag question before we get into our studs and duds of the week. What's a better nickname, BDN or Circle Jerk McKinnon? Star?
And Big Dick Nick?
Yes.
All right, just clarifying. He has other names too. Footlong Foles.
Yeah, which fits in there as well. Well,
yeah.
Maybe it doesn't really fit, but
I mean, BDN is a more flattering name. If I was the person, I'd rather be called BDN than Circle Jerk. But Circle Jerk is a better nickname.
I think that BDN, it just splits time with Footlong Foles.
Yeah.
And with that, you don't get the same quality like you get with Circle Jerk. It's the only nickname he's got. I mean, Jet's long gone. Circle Jerk is here.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't changed it on Instagram yet.
I watched that, listened to that video like 3 times a week. It's hilarious. All right, should we move into our studs and duds of the week?
We should. Do we have the other people's picks, or are we ignoring them?
We can read Scott's off. Gage never gave me any, so I do not have Gage's rage. Apparently, this whole Yu-Gi-Oh dispute or Dragon Ball Z card dispute.
Did they make Dragon Ball Z cards?
I don't know. Maybe it was Yu-Gi-Oh. Could have been his Pokemon Go account. They shared one, and now they want rights to it. I don't know. It was something like that.
Who knows?
So let's kick it off. Who was your stud of the week at quarterback?
My stud of the week is Kyler Murray against the Detroit Lions. They played each other last year, week 1. Kyler had a great comeback at the end of it, ended up tying in overtime. The Lions haven't played defense for 5 quarters now, I believe. Aaron Rodgers put up a shit on them. Was the stud, the baller in Chicago, Mitch Trubisky, had a great fourth quarter against them. I don't think we've seen Kyler's potential this year because he kind of got cut off against the Redskins because they were up so much early. They kind of just chilled out a little bit. I think today we might see some big points out of Kyler Murray.
And I'm not just copying you, but it's a great take. I also picked Kyler Murray as my stud of the week. The Lions are ranked 23rd against the pass this year. It has the second highest Vegas line, I think at like 44.5. So it's supposed to be a high scoring game. And over the last 2 games, he's averaged 250 plus yards in the air and 79 on the ground, which is just, that's 8 points a game coming from the rushing game. And I think he averages roughly 2.5 touchdowns a game. So I think Kyler's going to step up. He's a dark horse MVP this year with a high scoring game. It bodes well for this guy to play well. Scott, for his stud of the week, he picked Big Ben. If he was here to defend himself, he could give some reasoning for it, but he's not here. So we're going to move on. Your dud of the week was?
I have Jared Goff as my dud of the week. It's the first tough defense he's had to play. Tre'Davious White is good. Tremaine Edmonds is awesome. They got Ed Oliver up front. I just think they're going to struggle to move the ball on Buffalo Bills.
And that's that. I went ahead and I chose your beloved Teddy Bridgewater as my dud of the week. They have the second lowest Vegas line this week, going in at 44 points. Chargers have one of the best secondaries in the NFL too, who they have Desmond King, Chris Harris, and was it Casey Hayward as well?
Casey Hayward, yeah.
And then I think their second safety started with an A, like a Sarion or something like that. I don't remember what his name was, but he was pretty solid last year. It hurts losing Derwin James this year to injury. But they also still have some studs in the middle, Kenneth Murray, and then they have on the line, I think Melvin Ingram went to the IR this week, so he's out. But they have Linval Joseph, who's still a viable defensive tackle, and then Joey Bosa as well. So I think they're going to be able to get after him. No Christian McCaffrey, so they're riding the Mike Davis train this week. I just don't think it's going to bode well for Teddy Bridgewater. I think it's going to be a tough matchup, and I don't think he's going to reach his projected points.
Teddy digs the pressure. He lost his safety blanket, and he's going to come out on all cylinders.
We'll see. I hope he does. I like Teddy. I root for him, but it doesn't look like a good matchup. Scott's dud of the week was Drew Brees. He faces Green Bay this week. He didn't look great last week. He's starting to show his age a little bit more. Losing Mike Thomas definitely hurts him. He doesn't really have the playmakers on the outside. Emmanuel Sanders has been, I think he passed, so I don't even know if he's playing anymore. And then it's Traquan Smith and Jared Cook. Like it's a rough matchup.
Wow.
Which then actually brings me to my stud of the week, which is Alvin frickin' Kamara. Without Michael Thomas, Kamara has had he had a really good week too. Over 170 total yards, 9 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. with the Packers being 24th against running backs this year, over the last 16 games, and letting up 27 points a game to the position. He's kind of the clear-cut weapon on that offense. I think they're going to have to utilize him quite a bit. They're going to find a way to do that. I'm taking Alvin Kamara to put up 30 points this week.
I'm going to roll with the king. He's been kind of quiet this year, Derrick Henry, but he's playing the worst defense that's ever existed in the NFL. They couldn't stop a leaky faucet right now.
Man, when you leave hard.
I'd never left. I didn't have anything to leave. I've never been a of the Vikings. They just happened to have a lot of like uniforms in my closet and shit. I don't know how they got there.
Decoration.
Yeah, they're bad. He's good. With Anthony Barr out, our corners can't tackle. It's basically Harrison Smith and Kendricks have to stop him. If they can't, he's having a huge day, 100-plus yards and at least a touchdown. Derrick Henry's a stud today.
The Vegas line for that is 48.5 right now as well, and the Vikings are ranked 21st against the run. And let's see, how many points have they given up to the position each week? It looks like we let up 23 points to running backs. I think this is Henry's breakout game too. I hope it is because he's on my fantasy team and he hasn't done jack shit. Touchdowns need to come for the man. Who is your dud of the week?
My dud at running back, I have him. I don't feel good about it, but it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They're playing Baltimore, who hasn't allowed jack shit for running backs to do on them. I think it's going to be an air game for both teams. It's going to be a shootout. I don't see Clyde Edwards-Helaire hitting his first-round potential running the ball in that game.
Yeah, what did he have? Let's see if I – oh, this is college stats. I want to find his NFL stats because week one was obviously awesome, right? I think he had
3 touchdowns on the field.
He did. Yeah, he didn't run very well near the goal line. He had 10 rushes for 38 yards last week. He did get a touchdown. But he also – week one. Sorry. 10 yards, 38. He had 8 targets, 6 receptions, 32 yards. So, I mean, it was kind of a meh week. It was nice to see him in the passing game a little bit more. But I'm there with you. I could feel that. My dud of the week is Josh Jacobs, though. Assuming that he plays, he's a little banged up. And he's kind of a tough son of a bitch, too, because I think last year he played through, was it a broken shoulder or torn shoulder ligaments or something like that? You don't know?
I don't know. I'm just the biggest Raiders fan in the world.
Yeah, that's what it is. He did play through injury last year. I know that, and it was something with his shoulder. They said it on Monday Night Football, and it made him sound like a badass. But the Patriots are letting up the least amount of points to a running back per game at 15.5. If he plays, it just doesn't look like a great matchup for him. I just don't think it's a great matchup for the Raiders in general. I don't see Derek Carr doing the same thing. I think with Cam Newton playing the way he's been playing, they're going to be playing from behind. I don't think Jacobs is going to repeat anything near what he did week one, and last week was just average. So I'm picking Josh Jacobs as my dud of the week. Scott picked Jeffrey Wilson. I do not know much about him. Star?
Is it San Francisco?
Probably the second string running back in San Fran.
He picked someone who had 0 points projected, and he's like, "Oh, he's playing this week. He'll beat that." Fucking cheater, Scott.
He's just fucking padding his stats.
Get off your couch. You're not hunting. Just join the broadcast.
Hop on and defend yourself. His dud of the week was David Johnson. Bad matchup against the Steelers. I'm sure that's his reasoning. I don't know. Scott doesn't have great reasoning for what he does.
True.
All right, moving on to wide receivers. Your start of the week was Tyler Lockett. Defend yourself.
I think DK Metcalf has emerged as the guy to cover on that offense. He's the threat. The Dallas Cowboys have allowed a lot of yards to number 2 wide receivers. Calvin Ridley went off on them. I expect not the same numbers, but I expect him to have 100 yards and a touchdown today as the number 2 guy. Dallas can't cover him. Tyler Lockett's going off.
All right. My stud of the week is Corey Davis. I like Davis. He's going against a really bad secondary. The Vikings are ranked.
You fall hard.
No, we're just terrible this year. What are you drinking there, by the way? Is that a Bloody Mary?
It is.
Nice. What's the food with it? I saw the beef stick. That's what I saw.
And you got a beer because you're Midwestern?
It's just how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, Corey Davis, Vikings are 28th against the pass this year, letting up almost 39 points a game to the position. That's a lot. A.J. Brown is out again, and the Vikings are on, I think, their 15th cornerback this year. Maybe 16th, like we mentioned.
I think Hughes is playing D-back this week.
That might be, which just
Jalen Johnson's going to be out there corner.
Even better for Corey Davis. Dantzler's out, Hughes is out, Chris Boyd is out, which leaves us with the rookie Jeff Gladney, the undrafted free agent Holton Hill, and some guy named Harrison Hand and Mark Fields. Those are our
back Captain Munnerlin.
He tweeted at us or Instagrammed at us or something, and he's like, "Hey, Vikings, need somebody? We do. We really do." I think all signs point north for Corey Davis. Last week he had, I think it was 6 catches, like 38 yards and a touchdown, something along those lines. It was an average stat line, but I could see him getting around 10 targets. Adam Humphries comes back too, which, I mean, takes a little bit of pressure off. We have to cover Jonnu Smith, which I think is going to be either Kendricks or Harrison Smith, and then Derrick Henry's running the ball too. I think it's a really good matchup for him this week. My dud of the week goes with my quarterback dud.
Panther hater.
I am a Panther hater this week. Robbie Anderson, he's been on a tear this year. 15 receptions, 223 yards, and a touchdown, which is bringing him at like 22 and a half fantasy points a game. But we haven't seen this type of consistency out of him. And even though it's been 2 weeks, he's on pace to double his receptions and yard total over his entire career for his best year. The most he's gotten is 63 receptions, and I think on pace right now he's somewhere around 120. So I don't see that happening, and I think there's going to be a week he falls off. Why not this week? Playing against the Chargers, again, a tough defense to play, and outside of the Tyreek Hill 54-yard reception last week or whatever it was, that touchdown, the Chargers have only let up a long of 37 yards, and we know Robbie Anderson is a big hit guy. He had a really big catch last week too, and I think outside of his 9 catches for 109 yards, he had 8 grabs for 44. So I think he had 1 for about 54 as well, which just I don't think he's going to hit this week. I think start your DJ Moores, your Mike Davis is a good start, Ian Thomas, but I would leave Robbie Anderson on your bench, which means you should probably start him. Your dud of the week.
And I made this my dud before I learned this morning that he had passed. So I apologize to family and friends of Emmanuel Sanders.
A little disrespectful, but we'll let
Here's a little backstory. Last week, going into the Monday night game, I need a certain amount of points from Emmanuel Sanders and Darren Waller. Luckily, Darren Waller went off because Emmanuel Sanders did jack shit. I nearly dropped him this week. He had 1 late catch, like 17 yards or some bullshit, maybe less. Because he probably got half a point for the receptions, probably like 12 yards. And that was all he fucking did. It really pissed me off. I'm probably going to give him 1 more week if he doesn't do anything. I'm dropping him. Emmanuel Sanders, dud.
So he's on the verge of getting cut, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
On your team.
Yeah, even though he's already dead.
Yeah, which means you probably should cut him. That might be eligible for IR, actually. So you can probably hold on to him.
Yeah, I think it's questionable on my app, but we'll see.
Scott Stud with CeeDee Lamb. We both agree he's poised to have a big week. High-scoring game against the Seahawks. It's going to be a shootout. Played well last week. His dud of the week, Stephon Diggs. I'm guessing he's driving the matchup of Jalen Ramsey. So that makes sense.
Diggs is the type of receiver that can give Jalen Ramsey fits, though.
That's true. That's true. But I don't know. I think John Brown would maybe be a better start. Or
okay, Gage. Good call.
Yep. John Brown is the new John Brown is not bad. Scott's stud of the week at tight end was Logan Thomas. tight end, I think Cincinnati.
Washington football team.
That's what that was my second answer. I was just testing you. That's what that was. And then his dud of the week is Austin. Who?
Sure.
Yeah, terrible. 4 catches, 28 yards last week, I think is what his stat line was. 1 reception for like 11 in week 1. They haven't been using him. It's been ugly.
Me?
Yeah.
My stud is Drew Sample. You may not know who this guy is, but I think you will after today. He was a 2nd-round pick last year. CJ Uzomah went down, torn ACL. Last week, the Philadelphia Eagles allowed 3 touchdowns to Tyler Higbee, tight end spot. I believe Sample still had 7 receptions last week after Uzomah went down. And I think this is going to be his breakout game. He's the number 1 tight end now for Cincinnati. It's going against Philadelphia. It's going to have a big game.
They're also ranked 28th against tight ends. So that's
because
solid.
They allowed 3 touchdowns last week.
Yep. And your dud of the week stays in the division.
Is TJ Hawkinson. I just think Arizona has been pretty good at covering tight ends. They took Kittle out of the game. Jordan Reed didn't.
Literally, that was too soon.
Yeah. And then last week, Logan Thomas wasn't able to do anything at all. Terry McLaurin was the only offensive pop that the Washington football team had. TJ Hawkinson, kind of a risky one because he is probably, with Galladay still on the mend, their best offensive weapon. But I see him getting shut down. I don't know if Simmons is covering what they have the rookie doing, but whatever they got going on covering tight ends, Buda Baker, they're doing a great job.
Working.
Yeah.
My stud of the week, another one. I think all our studs are people that you probably haven't really heard of before. Dalton Schultz, tight end for Dallas, going against Seattle. After getting thrown to the fire when Blake Jarwin went down in week 1 with his torn ACL, he bounced back to strong week 2. 10 targets, 9 receptions, 88 yards, and a touchdown. Like I said earlier, highest Vegas line this week. I think that they're going to be using him a lot. I could see a similar stat line. Another, 10 targets or so, maybe 8 catches, 80 yards, and hopefully that touchdown, which puts him over that mend. My dud of the week, I'm padding my stats a little bit here. I'm going with Chris Herndon. He's got a really tough matchup going against Indianapolis. They are the best against tight ends this year, letting up. Guess how many receptions they let up to tight ends this year?
4.
3 receptions, 11 yards. They've let up 4.1 fantasy points to tight ends this year. It's not a high-scoring game. At least it's not projected to be high-scoring. The Jets are bad. Well, they have a bad head coach and not a lot of star players. It doesn't look good. Herndon last week, I think, had 1 catch for 4 yards or 5 yards or something like that on 4 targets or 5 targets. I don't know. It was ugly. I do not trust Chris Herndon. I don't trust this Jets offense. I'm going to pick him to get under his projected points this week.
You probably put any Jets on the dud list.
Probably, yeah. Like I said, it feels a little bit like padding the stats, but whatever. I need a win. So that kind of wraps up our studs and duds of the week. I did find a stat online. Let's see if I can find it, and we'll see if you can answer it for me. Maybe I don't have it. Maybe I lost it. Okay, never mind. I do not have a stat for you. So that is that.
All right. Well, it was fun to be here for the first time.
Yeah, it was nice having you. Thank you for joining.
Yeah.
It would have been a little tough by myself. I appreciate the dedication you show to the BudHole when the other two are
BudHole dedication.
You're the man. With that,
so if you have any money to donate to Gage's efforts to get his Dragon Ball Z cards back, please Venmo it to official BudHole. If you have any questions of who you want to play in fantasy, send them. You might want to do the opposite. I mean, we'll probably tell you how right we are and how wrong we are. So you'll see by the end of the year whether you should bet against us or for us. It's a fun time.
I will say, I think Scott did the update. His picks are at like 58%. I don't really trust his math. Mine are at 48. and Gage is at like 38. So we're hovering around that low end. But this week we're going to turn it around. I can feel it.
Yeah.
So thanks for tuning in.
If it comes to the end of the season and we're all really bad, that's something we could sell.
Yeah.
Don't
do the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Works.
Do the opposite. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. Check us out you're checking us out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those fun spots. And we'll be dropping a podcast on like Tuesday or something like that. And we have a really cool new recording, which is neat. So hopefully Scott can up his game a little bit. Maybe he'll show up tomorrow.
Yeah. And go Raiders.
Ugh.